Okay, Judy. So now I'm going to ask you that same question about the use of who controlled the text, and that's an interesting thing that you've actually been talking about a lot tonight. Is this issue of control, right? And so, yeah, tell me a little bit about what you answered the question, and now that we've been talking about it, have you thought about it differently at all?
Well, as a teacher, I always thought that I had to control for everything, otherwise the outcomes weren't going to happen the way they should. And one of the things for this project that it was enlightening for me is that when I'm doing the writing, I have, there's certain rules that I have to follow and a certain way I have to do it, and then I'm going to send it off. And when I allowed students to do that, first of all, their writing came up a notch because what was kind of controlling or motivating them was there's going to be a reader and it's not going to be my teacher and it isn't for a grade. And I think it took a few times for some students to get to that point because I let them go a little bit, partly because of time. They'd send a letter off and it would come back and it would say, we don't, unfortunately we're not going to donate, or we reject that offer because of you didn't have these things and this is what we need from you. And so students would rewrite it.
Right.
And it's just authentic to do that. And it was a little painful for me at the time when I was doing it because I felt like, oh, it's a reflection on my students, and I haven't taught them well enough,
Right.
and they're not using all of their skills and what they know. And really, I needed to let go more and let them see that writing is important enough that there's so many factors. You have to know your audience. You do have to have some rules in there. There's specific content, and read it before you send it off as if you are the person who's receiving it. So It's really cool to get things back from even administration, and these are the things we need. These are the things we didn't understand, because then they could tweak that, and that kind of solicited their best writing because of that. And it was a thrill for them to get letters back and read that. That's real too. Somebody wrote that to them specifically. It said, Dear Mark at the top. And so I just think the whole point was to take them on a camping and rafting trip, because many of my students had never been out in Michigan like that.
Wow, and that's what Michigan is all about. We've got so much great
and
natural stuff to do.
That sort of ended up being incidental to all of the writing that they were doing and what they were producing, and it was so amazing to turn them loose, even though I was really uncomfortable with that, and then and supporting them and having them bounce ideas off of each other. And finally a product came out that I would never have gotten had I said, this is how we're going to do it. We're going to, like Beth was saying, this, we're going to do step 1, step 2, step 3. You're going to fill these things in, and it's just not authentic, and it's not motivating, and kids aren't going to do that. And
so in order for this literary activity to be successful, actually the kids had to be in control of it. But also the people who answered the letters and said they didn't get what they need, like they had control over what happened too. So there were a whole bunch of people.
And administration had questions, and parents were like, what, you're going to take my kid on a river? That's not okay with me, and he's not going. And so what we had to do to convince, when we did for open house a PowerPoint presentation and some videos of students talking, was to convince those parents that we have all those things covered. We have cabin mates, we have chaperones, we have an itinerary, and these are the things that we're going to be doing. And
cool. Where did you go?
We actually went to the Manistee Forest. We went to White River Campground, and we rafted on the White River.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I have students who have kept that writing, and I think they would not have kept it had I been so controlling about it.
Right.
But have kept their journal with their little sticks taped in it.
Right.
And the photo albums that we did, there was a picture of one of my students who his parent was adamant she was not going to let him go, and I have a picture of him in the front of the raft standing up with the oar in his hand, and it was just he was the master of the river. He would have never had that opportunity. Cool. And he wasn't really a super great writer in the beginning, and he was one of the ones that was so excited to do all of this writing. I think that was maybe part of him convincing his mom that I'm a part of this. I'm going. I've done all these things. So
yeah, that's cool.